Hi everyone, I'm back with another video from Season 28 PTR. Today I want to talk about the Crusaders. So there is nothing new for the Crusaders. Along with the Witch Doctors, they are the only class that have not received any changes. And they're also, together with the Witch Doctors, the bottom tier of classes in general. So they do have some relatively powerful builds for farming for Crusaders, especially LOD Bombardment. I don't have any footage of that now, which has been around for a while now, ever since they buffed Bombardment, which is yeah, kind of like a decent build, but it's also like a very niche one. It's an LOD build, it's a Thorns build. Not everyone really likes that. It's like kind of spammy. And we have stuff like Valor Fist of the Heavens, for example. So I played this on the PTR, and man, I love that build. And this is also the Hades gift set. It's a kind of simple playstyle. In Season 27, we had the Fist of the Heavens power, where everything was just shooting automatically. That was pretty crazy, and I don't think we really need to go back to that. But man, it's kind of sad to see that this build is just not really, you know, up on the same tier as other farming builds. It's so enjoyable, and I think that especially on this end, especially as this being a Hades gift set, and most other Hades gift set did get a buff in this patch, this would be a very, very good target for a bit of a bump up. So you see here, I'm doing like 110 speeds with the lightning rune on Fist of the Heavens, and they work just fine. You know, these are fast runs, 2-minute runs, 2:15 runs, something like that. Pretty good, but it does not really compare with other good farming builds like Ina, UE, LD Bombardment, and these kind of things. In Season 27, because of the Sanctified Power, Crusaders were really good as a farming class with this. But yeah, it also had a lot of issues, so it really caused the game to lag very easily, even in speedruns, especially if you did this not in solo. You could lag out the game like hell, even in like literally 60-second runs, because there were so many Fist of the Heavens procs. So that is a bit over the top. I think one solution could be to just simply buff Fist of the Heavens in general. So for example, the Valor set itself actually does have a spot for that, which is a 2-piece bonus. So right now there is this combination of Fist of the Heavens plus Heaven's Fury on the set. The 6-piece buffs both, but the 2-piece set bonus only buffs Heaven's Fury for some reason. And I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity here. Heaven's Fury is a relatively strong pushing build and has been nerfed like 5 times in the past, so it's not really like top tier anymore, but it's okay. And Fist of the Heavens, literally does not have a pushing variant. That was only exclusive to Season 27 because of the Sanctified Power, which actually did make it slightly better than Heaven's Fury in that season. But again, it had this issue with the lags. So yeah, we can't really bring that power back, I guess, unless it's like really watered down. But just this build in general, it feels good. And I think if the 2-piece bonus would also buff Fist of the Heavens, that would go up something like 9 tiers or so, and suddenly Crusader would have some really powerful solo farming build. That would definitely be competitive with the likes of Wave of Light and these kind of like top tier builds, and it would feel amazing to play that class with this build, in my opinion. And here comes Akan. So I have to say I'm absolutely not a fan of the new Akan from the rework in Season 27. I really love the old Akan Bombardment, and I gotta say, this rework has not hit the mark, in my opinion. It is clunky, it is not really smooth to play. It has like no toughness, so you rely on Akra's champion Prophet blocks every 2 seconds to heal. And it is, on top of that, extremely laggy. And there's super flashy animations. I think they already toned them down back then because people were complaining, and it still has kind of the same issue, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is what we have for Akan. Some people might enjoy it. I'm not one of them. I tried it out for like 5 minutes on the PTR and then I rage quit. So this was my impression of the build. It is a powerful build, so especially when you start fishing for good maps, you start popping off this build because of all the explosions on the Condemn. But I guess most people that wanted a Condemn build would have enjoyed a manual Condemn build more than this. And yeah, I don't really see anything happening to the set anyway. But it is an okay build to play if you want to push very high on the Crusader, if you can stomach the playstyle. Outside of that, there's not really that much in terms of super crazy builds. I did talk about the Valor Heaven's Fury, which is still there, but it's also kind of gimmicky with the RA Tower playstyle. And then there's LD Bombardment, I guess, which is also not bad. But none of these builds really impress anyone these days, I guess. So with a buff to Fist of the Heavens that I mentioned, that would potentially come out as like a pretty solid pushing build, not just a farming build as well. Maybe not really top tier, but somewhere, you know, comfortable. And we wouldn't have to play Akan necessarily if we don't want to. To be honest, I don't really have any good ideas about what to do with Akan. That doesn't include a major rework of the set again, which is doubtful would ever happen, I guess, because it has just been recently reworked. And it has this kind of like unique playstyle around Condemn and Phalanx, which is okay. It's like a niche build. Not everyone needs to enjoy every build, I guess. And that's what you got. What this means for Crusaders in Season 28 is that it's not really looking that great. So you do have a pretty strong farming build of LED Bombardment. You do have a kind of nice, smooth to play, low-end farming build with Fist of the Heavens. But outside of that, yeah, nothing really new, nothing really cool, nothing really strong in my opinion. And it's a bit sad. And on top of this, you have to deal with stuff like these lags here when you're trying to push with Akan, for example, and potentially similar stuff with other builds because they are relatively laggy. And this also doesn't really help to enjoy the class. So I think as a last minute buff, it would be really cool to get something for Valor as the Hades gift set, as a really fun farming build especially. And it could be a pretty decent season, at least for Crusaders, enjoying the Season 28 theme that is like a really high power level and has lots of other cool effects that spice up the game. And yeah, maybe people would love that. I think long term it would be really exciting to see some other playstyles buffed, especially Sweep, in my opinion, is a really cool build. The only real downside it has is that it has very low single target damage if you don't press a pylon with Nemesis braces on the boss. So I think that could just be removed, just give the build, always the same damage with the denial shield, so that you don't have to worry about having exactly 5 targets or more in your sweep radius, which is like a very outdated concept at this point. And then just buff up the damage and you're good to go. And eventually maybe you would see some tweaks to the Hammerden. I think Hammerden again has the same issue with the single target damage. You have the faithful memory mechanic where you need to have 10 targets. It's even more than Roland Sweep. And if that was also just streamlined to always deal the same damage, maybe buffed a little bit, maybe gives it some extra toughness, that could be just fine. So that we can play like a Hammerden playstyle as well. And this also sums up my impressions and feedback for the Crusaders in Season 28. So definitely not a class that I'm going to play, I think. And maybe there could be, a little something in the patch notes at least for the Crusaders. So anyway, let me know what you think. Maybe you have some cool suggestions for the Crusaders as well. Maybe not for now, but for the future set reworks or something like that. Hope you liked this video and see you guys next time.